Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up today, 2 chances to win fantabulous prizes during our Real Deal giveaway at 4:45 and our Good News giveaway at 5:45. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Caroline Leavitt, press secretary for the Trump administration, put it absolutely best in this tweet. In 1 week, President Trump has reached a trade deal with the UK, negotiated a trade deal with China, secured a ceasefire with the Houthis, secured a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, freed American hostage Idan Alexander from Gaza, signed a historic executive order to slash drug prices. That's literally since, what, Thursday or something? It's been an amazing couple of days for the Trump administration, and actually it has made me raise my grade of the Trump administration. Let's go back. I said it was a solid B- the last time we discussed this, but I said like a teacher who wants his student to succeed, you want to see them hit that A+. You want to see them get there. And the activity over the past few days has been astounding. Does that mean I'm happy with everything? No. So I'm going to move my grade to an A-, not an A+ yet. Let's go through the reasons why. Starting with getting back an American hostage from Hamas without trading them anything. Now, let's be clear. This was because of Israel's efforts and because of Trump's efforts. Trump is doing a swing out to the Middle East. And in the Middle East, while he's there, he's meeting with a whole bunch of Arab countries, trying to settle things down, trying to expand the Abraham Accords. He's doing a lot of stuff while he's out there. And what he said is to the Qataris, you want to do business with us? Well, show me you want to do business with me. So a few things are happening. One, outside of the political arena, and you got to keep this in the back of your mind for a second. The Trump organization, Jared Kushner and crew, are actually working with the Qataris to build a Trump golf course and hotel and all that out there because the Qataris want the business. That you got to keep in the back of your mind. Now, something else you got to keep in the back of your mind is who Qatar actually is. Qatar is the country that's been harboring the heads of Hamas since October 7th. Qatar is the country that told Hamas, don't give back the hostages. Qatar is the country that has been supporting Hamas. Qatar is responsible for tons of terrorist activity. They are Hamas in suits. That's who we are dealing with. And if Qatar put pressure on Hamas as a goodwill gesture to give up one hostage, the last remaining alive American hostage, what about the other 50-plus hostages who Hamas is still holding? Which means Qatar has the power to get out those hostages. They could do it today if they want to. Now, maybe after this week of Middle East travel, Trump comes back with more hostages. Let's remember, only 21 of the remaining 50-plus hostages are still alive. Now, 20 when you get Idan Alexander out of the equation because now he's been freed, a kid from Tenafly, New Jersey. There are still 4 Americans being held hostage, or rather, I should say, their bodies are being held hostage. And CNN, I noticed that you were doing so well in your coverage, so well, until one of your idiot anchors who's wrong about everything said, well, now that the last American hostage is home, does that really mean America needs to be involved in this anymore? So let's just analyze that little statement. 44 Americans were killed on October 7th. In addition to that, you still have 4 Americans being held hostage. They're not alive, but their bodies are being held hostage. And in America and in Israel, we say no man, no woman left behind. We got to get them back. But in addition to that, right now, if America wants to project strength on the world stage, which it is clearly doing, should be advocating to get the rest of the hostages home, including the 4 Americans. So CNN, you might want to issue a correction because you were doing so well. It was one idiot anchor who made that. Now we get to the controversy of the weekend. And for this, I want your feedback on, and it's the Qatari airplane. Let's go back in time for a minute. And Mike was kind of making fun of me, well-deservedly, watching me do this on social media in real time yesterday as all the details came out. Hang on, before you get on that microphone, and you get to get on that microphone, you get to make fun of me a lot.
I was just
you
getting ready. That's
I
all.
see
It's fine.
you over there reaching for that thing, and you will get to make fun of me because it's deserved. But let's go over the details of this thing first. When Trump was in office the first time, he said, "These Air Force Ones, they suck. They're old. We need better ones, bigger ones, more beautiful ones, the most beautiful Air Force Ones you've ever seen." And he puts it in order with Boeing. Now, let's go back in time. Didn't he do that the first year of his administration? These planes have been around for, what, almost 40 plus years at this point? They're old. They require a lot of maintenance. They're not as fast. They're more expensive to operate. That's right. You do need new Air Force Ones. You need two, as a matter of fact. There are always two Air Force Ones, not just one. So you need to order two of them. However, Boeing, having the troubles Boeing's been having, Boeing has been falling behind on actually making these things. And in addition to that, they're billions of dollars over budget. So Trump comes back into office and goes, "Where's my new plane? I want it right now." And it's not there. So what happened in February? They start looking at a used plane. Now, this thing is called the Palace in the Sky, and it was on sale from Qatar. So what'd they work out? We're going to buy this airplane, and we're going to give it to a company in Florida that's going to retrofit it to become the next Air Force One. So just like buying a new car. You know, like buying a used car, excuse me. Like I'm selling my truck to my friends over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram because my kids are going off to college. I don't need the truck anymore. They're giving me a good deal on it. You should check it out too, especially because they got Memorial Day pricing going on and employee pricing all month. You can do that too. So they were doing the used car bit with a new Air Force One. And I get it. Makes sense. If Boeing's behind, let's go get this thing. Well, Qatar says, oh, wait a minute. Trump likes beautiful things. And we want a good relationship with Trump. Let's give them the $400 million Palace in the Sky 747. Now, ABC reported this and said, imminent, Trump's going to accept this thing, blah, 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 and everybody loses their minds. Let's go through the reasons why. I did it already. Qatar, bunch of terrorists in suits. Not good people. Horrible people, as a matter of fact. Horrible country. So, if the Russians can bug the U.S. Embassy in Russia, which they did during the Cold War, and how did they do it? Anybody who's been to the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. knows how. There is this beautiful, wooden, ornate seal of the United States that they gave as a gift. The Russians gave it as a gift to the U.S. and said, here, take this beautiful gift. Welcome to Moscow. And the Americans went, gee, jeepers, that's really great. The Russians gave us a present. Let's hang it up right here on the wall. And nobody bothered to sweep it for bugs because that's what was inside the thing. How many do you think there are going to be on an used airplane from Qatar? All right, let's forget the Trojan horse aspect of this for a second, the Trojan airplane aspect of this, and analyze this. You don't get anything in life for free. Everything comes with a price tag, even if you don't know it up front. And you don't want something like this being something they hold over our heads. There are things that are worth spending the money on, like the president's airplane, which is one of the most secure communications in the world. You don't want to be beholden to anybody for something like that, especially not a country of gangsters and terrorists like Qatar. And you know what? There is nothing wrong with speaking truth to power and telling your friends that. How did I open this segment? I said, I moved Trump from a B- to an A- with the list of accomplishments I just gave him. Do I have a problem with this Qatari jet? Absolutely. Does that mean I'm going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and go, oh my God, he's turning his back on America and Israel? No. I'm going to say I expect more from my friend. I hope my friend does better, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. Want a perfect example? After 9/11, a Saudi prince said he was giving $10 million to New York City for recovery and relief. And Rudy Giuliani rejected the check. Now, New York needed it. Let's not forget, you had a smoldering pile of rubble in the middle of the financial district. You had 3,000 people dead. You were still doing recovery efforts, and God knows what was going to happen with the people inhaling the stuff. And we know now with all the cancer and everything else, $10 million would have helped. But Rudy Giuliani did not want to be indebted to the Saudis, who were also just involved in 9/11. In addition to that, do you know what that Saudi prince had said the week before? He said he blamed America for 9/11 because they were friends with Israel. Rudy Giuliani did the right thing and rejected that check. And Trump should reject this airplane as well, because he says he wants it for the library afterwards. Now, let me explain this for people who haven't been to the Reagan Library. The Reagan Presidential Library is majestic. You walk out of that place feeling like you could be president of the United States, feeling such American pride, such patriotism. I have been back 3 times. It is magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And what's the centerpiece of their collection? They have Reagan's Air Force One. Now, Trump, of course, wants the Donald Trump Hotel, Casino, and Library to be the best one you're ever going to see. The very best. Gold everywhere. It'll be amazing. And I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be incredible. But he wants a plane because Reagan has a plane. Look, I love our president, but you know our president. That's why he wants the plane. Now, agree with me or disagree with me. You know what I think would be more fascinating to be there? Trump Force One, his own plane. I think that would be more fascinating than something he used for 2, maybe 3 years, maybe even 1 by the time he gets it that came from Qatar. I'd be more interested in a replica of his Oval Office, a replica of his gold apartment. I'd be more interested in all that. I don't want to see something that Qataris made. And show me Trump Force One. Trump Force One, where he flew to Butler, Pennsylvania, and out of Butler, Pennsylvania on. Trump Force One, which is something he did all his business on. That's where he actually was. And if he wants to take his retirement plane from Qatar, do it after you leave office. I'm sure there's not that many countries looking to buy a $400 million used plane because it's been sitting there a while till we came along. Now, do you think Trump should accept the plane, or you think Trump should not accept the plane? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. My friend Hillel Fold over on social media, big pro-Israel guy, big Israel advocate, lives in Israel, wrote this, and I think it sums up everything perfectly. Can we all just stop and breathe for a second? Stop spreading fake news about Trump. He's proven himself to be a friend of Israel. And then, see, I told you so. Trump stabbed us in the back. All Trump cares about is Trump. People breathe. There are tons of mixed messages right now, tons of confusion. The media is doing what it does best, spreading fake news. Trump and Israel pressuring Hamas to release Idan Alexander? Very good. Trump taking a $400 million jet from Qatar? Very bad. Witkoff saying that the U.S. wants to return the hostages, but Israel's not ready to end the war? Very bad. Sidebar, by the way. This deal would never have happened if Israel hadn't brought Hamas to its knees by cutting off aid, by cutting off utility, and pounding the crap out of them. This wasn't just Trump. This was also Bibi Netanyahu. We need to be very, very clear about that. Amazing. When you stop giving your enemy aid, all of a sudden they're willing to negotiate. The U.S. ambassador saying that the U.S.-Israel relationship has never been stronger. Very good. Hamas folding and agreeing to a ceasefire that Israel previously accepted and Hamas rejected, a ceasefire that would get all the hostages home and allow Israel to achieve all its objectives. Very good. Trump agreeing to a ceasefire with the Houthis without Israel being part of it. Very bad. Trump and Bibi speaking every few days about issues like Iran and Hamas. Very good. Trump allegedly agreeing to a Saudi nuclear deal without demanding normalization with Israel. Very bad. Some of this stuff is confirmed. Others are rumors. The bottom line is we know nothing right now and everything is extremely unclear. For now, I'll remain optimistic based on Trump's previous actions as it pertains to Israel. I hope he knows what he's doing, and I hope Israel's on top of all this chaos. And one thing's for sure, everybody needs to chill the heck out until things become clear and we all know what's up. And a perfect example of this is what happened yesterday. I see the report about the Qatari plane, and I go, I hope this isn't true, and I get all mad about it. Then I see the original reporting from February and from the Wall Street Journal about them buying this plane. And I see the original reporting from the Daily Mail off the Wall Street Journal talking about buying the plane. And I go, see, ABC, fake news. ABC is fake news. They are lying. And then Trump comes out with his a little unhinged Truth Social about, yeah, I want the plane. It's free, blah, 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 blah. You know what, guys? Some things you don't want to accept, even if they're free. I talk all the time about that free rain cistern system I got from the city of Seattle. I figured, you know what? This thing, I won't have to water my backyard ever again. I'll store the water, and I'll be able to water my backyard without my water bill going up. Good for the environment, and it's free. Who cares? Since I have installed this travesty, this monstrosity, this atrocity in my backyard, I've had nothing but problems, leaking, breaking. It is one of the most garbage, and it looks terrible. Do not do it. There is a cost to this kind of stuff. Do not take anything free from the city of Seattle. It's going to cost me thousands of dollars to undo this. It is such a disaster. And that's what happens when you get stuff for free. Don't do it. Don't do it. And it's okay for me to say, hey, President Trump, I know you have a ceasefire with the Houthis right now, but they're still attacking our friends Israel. Is it okay for Israel to fight back? Of course. Blow the hell out of their airport. And that's exactly what Israel did. Now, there's going to be negotiations between Israel and Hamas right now. And that's a good thing because maybe we get all the hostages home. But Bibi Netanyahu has been very clear. There will not be a ceasefire because what's working right now? Pressuring Hamas. You continue attacking them. They know that anytime they get a ceasefire, they can rearm. This war is over when all the hostages come home and when Hamas is out of the Gaza Strip. That is the conditions for this war to be over. And it might actually be happening soon. The problem is if Steve Witkoff, who I'm still not the biggest fan of, if Steve Witkoff is just trying to get back to a pre-October 7th mentality, that's not where you want to be. You got to be at a place where you don't have Hamas in the Gaza Strip, where Israel has control over the Gaza Strip or the U.S. has control of the Gaza Strip, whatever the case may be, whether it's the Riviera of the Middle East, whatever the case may be. That's where you got to get to. You cannot leave Hamas there, or there's only going to be more dead people. On the Warrior Injury Law text line, Kim says Trump should not accept the free airplane. That would be a dumb thing to do. Becky in Enumclaw says, I agree with you. He should not accept the plane, and I believe he will not on his own. Stu says, take the plane and then use it for nothing but chariot work. Yeah, but then you still owe them. Right, guys? You don't necessarily, I get what you're saying. I get it. I say take it as a retirement thing. You want to deal with it after you're president or whatever the case may be, but do not take it right now. I think it's a national security risk. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Mike in Linwood. Mike, what's going on?
Ari, I love you, man.
Thank you.
I'm thinking there, it sparked a thought in my mind. The plane is a Trojan horse, man. There's a nuke on it.
Well,
don't take it.
I'm not saying there's necessarily a nuke on it, but you don't think they're going to put bugs in there we can't find? Put it this way for a second.
Yes.
If Israel can hide explosives and pagers and nobody knew for over a year, what do you think they could do to that plane?
Dude, it's 9/11 again, man. I'm telling you, this the Barbary pirates all over again. The Houthis, it's the Barbary pirate. We had to go over there and get them, man. They screwed the whole world up, dude.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to have to deal with that. That's why we give the contract to Boeing and not to Airbus. Because it's American, we need it made in America. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, it was a 747. It was made in America. Yeah, but what did the Qataris do to it? For guys who say we want everything made in America, why would we not want Air Force One made in America? Mike, appreciate the kind words. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Give us a call or a text and let us know how you think Trump is doing after this week of incredible wins with a couple of speed bumps along the way. What grade would you give the Trump administration? 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss. Speaking of terrorists, looks like the terrorists out at University of Washington have a new fundraiser. to pay for their legal bills? Yeah, we're at the find out situation here. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Okay, Matt says over on the text line he's mad he didn't get the angry Mike tweet, right? Rant, because Mike was gearing up to give it to me. All right, I will take it now on my back and forth on the airplane, right? Yes?
Well, I hate to disappoint everybody, but like, you've already addressed it. Basically, like, so I'm looking at my phone on Sunday and it's like, oh man, Trump is gonna get this airplane. Oh no, it's fake news. Oh no, it's not fake news. Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. And just like this constant like ping-ponging back and forth intermixed with like they're releasing hostages. And also here's a possibly insensitive cartoon caricature of Mayor Bruce Harrell.
You're welcome, America.
You got to follow Ari on Twitter at the Hofffather, because it is just like a unending stream of consciousness that like when you eat too much cotton candy, that's what it's like scrolling through Ari's Twitter, especially if like it's been a couple days. Like I just happened to be looking at that on Sunday. I'm like, oh, Ari's back online. Let's see what he's scheduled on Friday to drop on Sunday.
Yes.
And it never disappoints, but goodness.
Yes.
It was a
weekend. It was a weekend. Well, basically, this is the first free Sunday I've had in forever.
Normally
Sundays I'm not that active, but you know what I did on Sunday? The weather was beautiful, so you know what I did? I went outside and did yard work. Got caught up on the yard work, was listening to some podcasts, getting caught up on things in the world. And along the way, when I needed a break because I'm out of shape and I'm really, really hot, and I'm going, hey, I should tweet. And that's always my first mistake. But head on over to X at the Hofffather. You can follow me. You can also follow Big Mike on KVI. Make sure you follow these accounts because then you get all the fun when we're not on air. And by the way, speaking of the fun you only get here, time for a story you're not going to get anywhere else.
Talk Radio 570 KVI, an Ari Hoffman Show exclusive.
So while I was doing public disclosure requests for what was going on at University of Washington last year, I found out the University of Washington takes a year to get back to you on anything. A year for the public disclosure request, which is insane. The only ones who take longer than that is the Seattle Police Department because they're so backed up and so understaffed. And what did we find out? Democratic Washington State Senator Yasmin Trudeau is facing intense backlash from Jewish students, community leaders, and pro-Israel advocates after she defended the University of Washington's 2024 violent anti-Semitic Gaza encampment in a letter to university leadership. Talk about bad timing, by the way. Hey, UW, you thought you'd be out of the news by then by releasing this stuff a year from now? What happened last week? Talk about bad timing. Thanks to Army Jack for sending this my way. This came one day after disturbing footage went viral, showing Jewish students being harassed and physically blocked by protesters from walking through campus. Calling the encampment a peaceful demonstration in documents obtained via public disclosure request by us, Trudeau urged UW President Anna Marie Kelsey and Director of State Relations Joe Daca to allow the occupation of the university's quad to continue. Her comments came despite growing concerns over safety and rising anti-Semitism on campus from the so-called Gaza Solidarity Movement. In her letter, Trudeau praised the protesters, comparing their actions to historic civil rights movements and urging UW administrators to prioritize student rights and safety as they negotiate with you to detach from corporations complicit in devaluing and destroying sacred life in Gaza and now in Rafah. She framed the demonstrations as part of a noble American tradition of activism, ignoring the widespread intimidation of Jewish students and the presence of radical activists, sometimes violent agitators. Her remarks came the day after Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk delivered a speech on campus. That event was marred by violent confrontation involving Antifa militants dressed in black bloc who assaulted pro-Israel students, as well as journalist Jonathan Cho and his security guard. Shortly after Kirk's appearance, a video I took went viral showing Jewish students being physically blocked by encampment members from moving freely on campus. So, Trudeau expressed no concern for these students. Instead, she thanked UW officials for their handling of the protest, added that she was really impressed and grateful to observe what had been happening, and lamented that other universities were dismantling similar encampments and how happy she was that UW wasn't. Wow, that aged like fine milk, didn't it? Really, well done, everybody. Oh, and speaking of the insanity the Hamasniks are up to, now that we know that the ones at University of Washington who destroyed the engineering building over $1 million in damage are tied to terrorist organizations like Sami Dune, you know they have a GoFundMe up right now where they are so shocked that they are being held accountable that they are fundraising for their legal bills. hey, guys, you know what you could do? You could just check out who's donating these things. A lot of them went anonymous, but some of them are very proud to list their names out there and find out who's donating to the terrorists at the University of Washington. Plus, you should report this thing immediately and tell GoFundMe to take it down now that the terrorist ties have been established. By the way, I reached out to GoFundMe for comment on this. I have not heard back yet. I wonder why that is all of a sudden. GoFundMe loves these fundraisers for terrorists and criminals and all the rest. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
What's up is I was the guy who found the GoFundMe for GoFund terrorists.
Wait a second. Hang on. I forgot to give proper credit. That's right. Joe was the one who found it and brought it to our attention. We would not know about this thing if not for Transit Joe. You are 100% right, sir.
Thank you. And let me just say something else, too. We've all got to do our part to step to this stuff. I mean, I know a particular East Side politician who would love to grab a microphone and rip the UW regents, as well as the terrorist group at UW, a new one, but she's scared to death of the terrorists coming to her city. So, we've got to step into this stuff, and it's shameful that Democratic leaders are not coming out in a united voice and saying this is unacceptable.
I agree. I agree. And here's the other thing, Joe. I wish you would grab a microphone. You grab the microphone every time you call into the show, and it's amazing, and the emails you send are amazing. But right now, you sound like you're under the weather, my man. You sick or something?
I'm coming back from a call to go to the Oregon Air Show this weekend. I was at Redmond Lake, and I saw what America really is, where we had Muslims, Jews, and Christians, and other religions and no religion all celebrate Redmond, and the great President Vanessa Kirchner made peace happen and strife, and and she was nice enough to let Mayor Bernie cut the ribbon along with Claudia Banasucci, and it was a great day to be in Transit World. It makes me want to move to Redmond and move Redmond just a little bit more to the right.
Well, I appreciate the call. Joe. I appreciate your enthusiasm. I appreciate your patriotism. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, the good news train keeps rolling. As Mike just found out, his toys might get cheaper from China. Or will they? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The winning continues, my friends. I'm not tired of the winning. I'm enjoying every little piece of it, especially my stock portfolio, by the way. I bought some of that Mattel stock when I heard there was going to be a deal with China. Very, very excited. But I will tell you this, my friends, this new deal with China resets the entire trade war, entire trade deficits, everything, and once again proves the detractors of President Trump wrong. The good thing about President Trump is that if something's not working, he is open to adjusting things. Other presidents are ideologues. They keep going even if things aren't working. But Donald Trump realizes, hey, tried this, didn't work so well. I tried the Peter Navarro method, didn't work. What if we give the reins over to somebody like Scott Bessent? And by the way, when I saw Scott Bessent's name in the statements before the details of the plan were released. So yesterday, they just put out statements saying there's going to be a big announcement on Monday. We'll tell you all about what's happening on Monday, but there's going to be a big announcement with China. And I looked at whose names were on that thing, and I saw Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, who I think is incredible. I saw that, and I said, boom, shakalaka, this is going to be amazing. Here's POTUS telling us exactly what was in this deal.
In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China. After productive talks in Geneva, both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the larger structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs.
This is huge news, by the way, because what was everybody more worried about than anything else? China. And Donald Trump started seeing empty ships showing up at cargo ports, or empty cargo ports where ships are not showing up. And then when he had that little bit of a gaffe last week where he was talking about, okay, you only have $2 for Christmas, everybody got a little nervous. And you saw companies like Mattel start spiking their prices. Well, now you've got a little problem. There are a lot of companies that took the hit, and there are some companies that didn't. And we know that once people see that their consumers are willing to pay the prices, they don't come back down. So are people going to look at Mattel and blame Trump? Or are people going to look at Mattel and blame Mattel? That's something to watch going into the holiday season, how people are going to react to all this. Mike and I were discussing this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've talked about as I've become singularly focused, you could say I'm a one-issue producer, but I've also thrown out there that once these toy companies, whether they're Mattel or Hasbro or whatever, once they raise prices, I don't see them coming back down, regardless of what the tariffs do. I don't think John Hasbro or the country of Mattel needs tariffs in order to raise their prices. They could use that as cover, as an excuse, as a reason.
Right. Which it looks like what's happening. And it looks like that's what they're doing long in advance of the holiday season so you can get used to it now.
Right.
Would be my guess of what's going on, because a lot of this stuff isn't even made in China. Some of the stuff is made in Vietnam. Some of the stuff is made in South Korea. Some of the stuff is made in other countries in the area. So, you know, some people may have been looking for a reason to do price increases because of inflation, because of everything else, and this presented them a perfect opportunity. But a trade deal with China, they're the Death Star. They're the big baddies in this case. And now you have negotiations going on and a freeze in this with 90 days. I wouldn't be surprised if after this it's deal, 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 and everybody coming to the U.S. We already knew that was happening. But why did this happen? Because China needs us as customers as much as we need them to be producers. And China also saw that companies are flooding to the U.S. to build up their manufacturing here. Here's an example. Anybody who's my age and older knows that we dreamed about going to Legoland, but we couldn't go to Legoland. Why couldn't we go to Legoland? It was in Denmark. And we weren't going to Denmark. We didn't have a good reason to go to Denmark, and we always wanted Legoland. And then they opened it up here. And then they opened up more of them. And now all of a sudden, you can go to Legoland in America. Well, here's something else. Legos are now being made in America. Lego announced that they're bringing their production over here. And you may say, Ari, there's more important things than toys. Absolutely there are. But a lot of companies and the toy market, one of the reasons we have focused on it is because Mike represents a segment of the population that's focused on this. And you know what? There's other segments of the population that are focused on other things. For example, Anheuser-Busch just announced they're ramping up their production here. So now the beer people are going to be happy. And look at the stuff with the cars and everything else. This is all good news for the U.S. economy. This all means more jobs. This all means more production. This also means more money for the federal government from the tariffs and everything else. It looks like this is working. And this is what we wanted it to be. We wanted the tariffs to be ammo to leverage so everybody else would bring down their tariffs. And that's exactly what we see happening with the big baddie of China. Is there something in particular you're happy is about to get cheaper or made in America? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, we finally found out what kind of immigrants the Democrats don't want. White ones. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Ahead of the arrival of white South African refugees in the United States fleeing violence, Senator Chris Van Hollen, you might remember him, who most notably traveled to El Salvador to try and secure the release of MS-13 gang member Kilmar Abreu Garcia, said those refugees do not need it. Why? Because they're white? Isn't it the Democrats who always love to use the excuse, oh, you Jews, what would they have? The Holocaust, they came here. Yeah, that's not really how it worked, but okay, sure, let's go with that. So here we go, guys. A bunch of white people fleeing violence. Well, we finally found the types of refugees that Democrats don't want in this country based solely on the color of their skin. Reverse racism, anybody? That's exactly what this is. He said Trump and Musk are about to give refugee status to 60 white South Africans who do not need it, while Trump locks up and deports refugees who face genuine dangers in other countries. This is a sick global apartheid policy being adopted by this lawless administration. Can we back up and get rid of some of the insane rhetoric from this loony toony for a minute? Number one, why don't they need it? Are they fleeing violence as well? Sure sounds like they are. Sounds like things ain't too good in South Africa. Maybe they should stop suing Israel in the International Criminal Court and worry about their own problems, by the way. Maybe they should just do that. But here, Trump is locking up and deporting illegal immigrant criminals who fear for their lives in other countries because we are much nicer than the jails they get sent to in these other countries, and because they're gang members, some other gangs might want to kill them. They made their bed. This is their problem now. So basically what you're saying is white people don't face racism? Is that what you're getting at? Really? Oh, this is intersectionality run amok. Just under 50 white South Africans, it's a Monday, too much coffee, arrived in the U.S. on Monday, according to the Post-Millennial, landing at Virginia's Dulles International Airport. The 49 Afrikaners, the descendants of Dutch settlers and a minority group in the country, arrived at the airport just after 12 p.m. and will board connecting flights to 10 states. 3 government officials familiar with the plans told the outlet. An additional 11 others were set to board the flight, but people familiar with the matter said that the paperwork issues resulted in the State Department blocking them from boarding. Hang on. You're saying that they also blocked white people from boarding because there were paperwork issues? So the federal government is saying, if your paperwork ain't in order, you ain't coming in. Oh, so they're not being discriminatory, but the Democrats are saying, well, because of the color of your skin, you don't get to come to the United States of America because you're white. In March, Trump announced that the U.S. would cease sending federal aid to South Africa and open the U.S. to farmers fleeing violence, with a rapid pathway to citizenship also being offered. He wrote at the time, South Africa is being terrible, plus two longtime farmers in the country. They are confiscating their land and farms, and much worse than that. A bad place to be right now, and we are stopping all federal funding. To go a step further, any farmer with family from South Africa seeking to flee that country for reasons of safety will be invited to the United States of America with a rapid pathway to citizenship. This process will begin immediately. Imagine for a second if the color of their skin was a little different. Every Democrat, they wouldn't be cheering it because it's still Trump who's doing it. But at the same time, they wouldn't be yelling about it. Why are they yelling about it? Because these people are white. A State Department memo obtained by the outlet said that those arriving in the country from South Africa have witnessed or experienced extreme violence with a racial nexus, such as murders, carjackings, and home invasions. Yeah, South Africa has been turned completely the other direction right now, it looks like. You think this is what Nelson Mandela wanted? I saw that football movie, that soccer movie with Matt Damon and Morgan Freeman, 2 guys who are most definitely not South African. I saw that movie.
Super dead.
Exactly. I enjoyed it. I don't think this was Nelson Mandela's dream. I don't think that's what it was, for all of a sudden the majority of the country to go around massacring the minority. I think that's what he was fighting against. Call me crazy and all.
Well, you know what, Ari, on the lighter side, I've discovered that the folks of South Africa are looking for asylum and that they need help. And who better to tell us about what the good folks of South Africa need than our good friend, Miss Teen South Carolina from 2007.
I personally believe
that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere such as, I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
Thank you, South Carolina. We go to the profound, deep, you might say. Deep thoughts with Miss South Carolina. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Got a minute for our friend Jason and Lacey. Jason, what's up, man?
So, yeah, I got a little bone to pick with you. So, I've heard you use this term a few other times. I've meant to call in so many times about it, but you've used the term reverse racism. And I have a bone to pick because the reverse or the opposite of racism is inclusivity. What we're talking about is just plain racism, the discrimination of people based on the nation of their origin or the color of their skin is just racism.
You're 100% right. You are 100% right, Jason. In fact, I will stop using the term. I'm just using it because I like making fun of the Democrats, but you are right. Racism is racism. And Jason, I appreciate corrections like that. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, bad news for those of you heading eastbound on I-90. Yeah, it looks like a barbecue is taking up the whole lanes there, and you're not getting anywhere. We'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 4:45, your chance to win 2 Run of Engagement passes to see The Accountant 2, starring Batfleck. But before we get to any of that, my friends, got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
We don't do traffic and weather here on the Ari Hoffman Show, but when it's really, really bad, we try to tell you about it because we know you're listening in the car. Earlier today, a crash and large RV fire closed all eastbound lanes of I-90 in Seattle's Mount Baker Tunnel. That's where I always get on, right there. In fact, there's a video from WashDOT showing a Subaru Outback coming on the on-ramp, looking at it and going, nope, and then trying to make a U-turn to drive off the on-ramp. That's how bad it is. The Washington State Department of Transportation first posted about the crash and fire around 12:30 p.m. Monday. Washington State Patrol Trooper Rick Johnson said another car was involved in the crash with the RV before the RV caught fire. Except the latest reports are now saying no other vehicle was involved. Now, I'm not an expert on RVs, though we do attend a lot of RV shows here at KVI, but it doesn't look like a newer RV. And I'm kind of wondering, this is pure speculation, pure guesswork, if this was somebody perhaps leaving a safe lot in Seattle, which is being closed, and handing over to another location on the east side where there are a few more of these places. Was this one of our unsheltered neighbors? Did this thing spontaneously combust because of, say, I don't know, meth or miswiring? Either way, it was a massive barbecue. Thank you to our friends over at Northwest News Radio for giving us that one. That one we are using for the rest of time, by the way. Photos and videos from WashDOT cameras in the area show the RV engulfed in flames while high-centered on a barrier inside the tunnel. Large plumes of black smoke could also be seen coming from the ends of the tunnel. We don't have a new safe lot yet. Black smoke, we don't have a new safe lot. Nope, not here. Thank you. Undeserved, but thank you. Exactly right. Firefighters quickly responded to the scene and were able to get the fire under control by 12:50 p.m. However, all eastbound lanes of I-90 are still closed. So avoid I-90 if possible, especially in that area headed eastbound near Mount Baker. Now, from what we hear so far, westbound is not affected yet, but make sure you check traffic reports. Use your Waze, GPS, Google, whatever it is, so you can still listen to the Ari Hoffman Show and Talk Radio 570 KVI, and I'm sure it will give you the latest updated information. If it sends you on some crazy detour, believe it today. By the way, rough weekend for I-90. I don't know if you guys saw this report on Saturday. A military Humvee towing a trailer veered off I-90 in Bellevue, Washington on Saturday, crashing over a retaining wall and plunging approximately 30 feet onto the street below. According to the Washington State Patrol, the incident occurred on the eastbound side of I-90. What's going on I-90 on the eastbound side? Authorities say the vehicle, which was part of a military convoy, drifted to the right for unknown reasons. It left the roadway, crossed a grassy shoulder, then dropped off the overpass, landing on Southeast 38th Street. I cannot believe these guys survived. The images that were posted once again by Trooper Rick Johnson are insane. Trooper Rick Johnson tweeted on Saturday, this happened just a little bit ago, put up photos of the crash scene, the dramatic drop from the freeway. This military vehicle pulling a trailer was on eastbound 90, drifted right, went off the roadway, crashed over the wall into Southeast 38th Street in the Eastgate area of Bellevue. 2 minor injuries and no other vehicles were involved. The 2 occupants of the Humvee sustained minor injuries and were taken to a hospital for evaluation. The sergeant at the scene told me there were minor injuries, but the fire department really suggests you go get checked out, he said. The Humvee was part of a convoy believed to be headed to the Yakima Training Center in central Washington, a frequent destination for military traffic along I-90. Johnson noted that the vehicle sustained significant damage in the crash. That's an understatement. This thing is totaled, and that's a Humvee. And these things are meant to take a beating. No other vehicles were involved in the incident, and the cause of the crash remains under investigation. So, my friends, my advice to you, for today at least, avoid I-90. Just stay away from eastbound I-90, especially in the Mount Baker Tunnel area. Meanwhile, switching gears to local crime, David Williford, according to Como News, a man with a notorious history of animal abuse and child sex crimes, is on the run after cutting off his ankle monitor. Now, I know what question you're thinking, because it's the same one I was thinking after seeing that headline. What was he doing out? And why did you put him just on an ankle monitor? So he can abuse animals in his backyard with whatever wanders in there or in front of his house. And, of course, you're putting children at risk. Williford, who was recently sentenced to home arrest for child sex crimes. Can we address that for a second? Sentenced to home arrest. No, I thought we had a deal where pedophiles just go in the woods and kill themselves or something like that. That's what Tosh.0 says. Are you kidding me? Child sex crimes, and he was on house arrest? I want to know who this judge was. I want to know who the judge was. I want all the court documents on this. We're going to look him up after the show. He was last seen on May 5th in West Seattle's North Admiral neighborhood. So Jim Foda from Crime Stoppers of Puget Sound said he needs to be scooped up quickly before he does a last hurrah or before he knows people are looking for him. When he cut that ankle bracelet off, he knew people would be looking for him. Como News had reported on Williford for over a decade. In 2015, he faced 6 counts of animal abuse, with prosecutors alleging he methodically tortured animals for entertainment. That same year, he was also charged with child rape and child molestation. Do you know what people like this end up doing? God forbid, God forbid, God forbid, raping then murdering children. Animal abuse is something that most psychopaths were noted for in early behavior stuff. So the fact that this guy is on the loose is terrifying. On April 29th, Williford was sentenced to home arrest, ordered to stay with his mother. It sounds like she did a good job with him before that. However, 6 days later, he removed his ankle bracelet. Authorities were alerted and responded within 40 minutes. 40 minutes it took them to respond, but he had already fled. The Washington Department of Corrections has referred the case to a specialized unit focused on fugitive captures and high-risk arrests. Are they bringing Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive? I want a search of every outhouse, doghouse, henhouse, penthouse, whatever it is. I want that whole thing. I love that speech. Crime Stoppers is also involved in the search. They urge anyone with information on Williford's whereabouts to contact them immediately, reminding the public that tips can be given anonymously, and there's a reward of up to $1,000 for information leading to his arrest. Why was this guy only sentenced to home monitoring? That's mind-blowing to me. I want the name of the judge. We're going to have it, hopefully by tonight sometime. We'll do some little investigative journalism, something that the mainstream media forgets all the time. We'll check that out. Then we have the story here from Como News. Now, this one is infuriating to me because this was avoidable. And as I was reading it, I said, is this going to be another one of those cases? From Tacoma, Washington, a mother has been charged with manslaughter after her 5-year-old son died from a fentanyl overdose in a squalid Tacoma home in March. Pierce County Sheriff's Office said the boy was discovered unresponsive by his mother, identified as Jordan Elizabeth Shank, in the early morning hours of March 13th. She reported finding vomit on him and said he was not breathing. Despite life-saving efforts by Central Pierce fire personnel, the child was pronounced dead at 4:33 a.m. They have bags of what was found, and they all look like candy. Every single one of them looks like candy. Detectives investigating the scene noted that the home was very dirty and in disarray, with no running water and tons of evidence of drug use. Now, can we all of a sudden here, I know what you're thinking, those of you who listen to the show regularly, is this another victim of the Keeping Families Together Act, which the Republicans have been trying to get rid of and modify, but the Democrats have refused to do so? Because the body count of this bill, of this bad policy, are piling up. And our friend Travis Couture has advocated passionately for fixing this, and the Democrats have refused to do so for what? 2 legislative cycles now? 2. And we have another dead kid. You know what? I'm going to reach out to Travis Couture tonight and see if he'll come on the show tomorrow and talk about this. So, according to court documents, she admitted to detectives that she and her boyfriend had used fentanyl and last used the drug the day before her son's death. Now, hang on a second. Let's give benefit of the doubt for a second here. Did the authorities actually know what was going on in the house? They don't know what's happening in the house. Maybe this wasn't because of this. Oh, here we go. She described herself as an addict and admitted to using fentanyl while pregnant with the victim. The Keeping Families Together Act specifically says that they're not going to take away kids from drug-addicted parents when they are born. Now, this kid's not very old, which means it was done under the Keeping Families Together Act, which means this could have been prevented at the hospital by saying, drug-addicted mom, you don't get to keep the kid. If you are this irresponsible, okay, men out there who have children, you all know what I'm talking about, and women as well. This shouldn't just be a men thing. Anybody who has kids knows, especially with that first child, you're like, okay, no sushi, no alcohol, no types of cheeses, no all this kind of stuff. And your wife is ready to kill you by the end of it. She's like, I just want a glass of wine. By the way, this is why women drink later in life, because they're making up for all the wine they couldn't have when they were... I'm kidding. Don't blow up the phone lines. Angry emails can be sent to ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. But in all seriousness, you are so overprotective when you are pregnant because you don't want anything to happen to that little bundle of joy. A search of the residence revealed drug paraphernalia and substances that tested positive for methamphetamine. Anybody who does drugs while they are pregnant with a child has no business having that child. You disagree with me? You can give me a call at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. They may be a great parent after they get clean. That mother might be one day, but she does not deserve that child if she is testing positive for drugs while she is pregnant. The toxicology report from Washington State Toxicology Lab confirmed the presence of fentanyl in the child's blood. The medical examiner's autopsy found no traumatic injuries or chronic infections, but several contusions were noted on the child's body. Was he being abused at home as well? This is absolutely horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. The report concluded that the boy died from acute fentanyl toxicity. And let's not forget, you don't have to ingest fentanyl to die from it. This stuff could be deadly to contact. Schenck was arrested and charged with first-degree manslaughter, driving without a license, and theft by the Pierce County Superior Court on May 10th. Wait a second, that's not right. That sounds like they added this to... Wait, hang on. Scrolling back up. Oh, no, wait, I take that back. She's a prolific offender who is pregnant. A prolific offender who had this kid in the house. And they didn't think there might be an issue here? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That this is the system. The system killed this kid. The Democrats killed this kid. The blood of this kid is on their hands. You know what we should do? Reach out to the Democrats for some statements, by the way. Oh, wait. They're not going to get back to us. They still haven't gotten back to us about all the insanity at University of Washington. Meanwhile, who's trying to make sure there are good foster care systems so that kids can get out of houses like this? If the authorities do their jobs, if they're allowed to do their jobs, if the system does its job, oh, right, the orange man, who you guys think is so bad. Here's Caroline Levitt.
Finally, it was announced this morning that First Lady Melania Trump secured a $25 million investment in President Trump's budget to provide housing and support for youth transitioning out of foster care. And in recognition of the 7th anniversary of Mrs. Trump's Be Best initiative, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development allocated funds toward the agency Foster Youth to Independence program. Yesterday, Mrs. Trump hosted a special celebration of military mothers with the president, bringing together 150 military moms from around the country to recognize their service, not just in their home, but for our country.
So the Trump administration is funding foster care, which could have helped this kid. You know, we've all seen too many movies and heard too many horror stories. You want to improve something? Improve the foster care system. But how many times do we hear that foster parents are denied a kid because they're religious? Oh, no! The kid might grow up to lead a productive lifestyle. Oh, no. We were joking a little bit earlier. I'm going to clean up the bad parts of this little conversation. But we were joking a little bit earlier. What are the Republicans selling these days? Hey, if you become a Republican and lead a good conservative lifestyle, you might end up marrying a good-looking girl, right? That's the pitch to young men who they want them to become Republicans these days. What's the pitch on the other side from David Hogg and crew? Oh, well, we just want to fix all stuff so we can go back to, what was it, partying and drinking or something of that nature? Yeah, he's the vice chair of the Democrat Party. And my immediate question was...
I think it was like drinking and banging or
drinking and something like that, right? So we say that on the Democrat side, and I say, how do you even know what you're banging, who you're banging? I mean, practical question here. Practical question. Just asking. I don't know how these people identify. But one case, they're promising you a life. In the other case, they're promising you, I don't even know what they're promising you on the other side. Either way, there is a clear contrast. And which side would you rather be on at this point? No, seriously, I just asked that practically. Which side would you rather be on at this point? One that promises you a good life or one that just promises you, I'm just going to say confusion to be nice right now. I'm just going to say confusion. But that's the thing right now. We're trying to restore the American family, which has been demonized for so long. We're trying to give kids a chance at life who may have been denied one, like this little kid who now doesn't get a chance at life because of bad policy and a bad, terrible system that was made worse by the Democrats. How many horror stories have we done on Department of Children and Youth and Family Services here in Washington? It's never ending. And here's another one. This could have been avoided. Meanwhile, one last local story here from Washington. According to Como News, 3 people in a party of 4 climbers from Renton were killed in a climbing accident in the North Cascades on Sunday. The accident happened in the area of North Early Winter Spire off State Route 20, about 16 miles west of Mazama, at about 11:30 a.m. Members of the Okanagan County Sheriff's Office and Okanagan County Search and Rescue volunteers responded and found the 4 climbers had fallen while climbing down a steep gully. They were confirmed to be dead at the scene. Yikes. A 4th climber was able to get out and call for help. The Okanagan County Coroner's Office told the Sheriff's Office the climbers who were killed were ages 36, 47, and 63. Their IDs have not been released at this time. The Snohomish County Helicopter Rescue Team helped retrieve the bodies from the difficult mountainous terrain. They are presumed cause of the accident is an anchor failure while rappelling. My God. Somebody asked me recently, we're talking about a relative of mine who was attempting to summit Mount Everest recently. And they said to me, Ari, would you want to do that? I said, no, I would never want to do that. And they said, well, what's on your bucket list? And I said, shoot me into space for 11 minutes. That would be fun. And then I could become a passenger. I don't consider myself an astronaut because I was in space for 11 minutes. A passenger is what I would consider myself. And shouldn't we want that for everybody to get to be passengers? The astronauts paved the way so that people can go to space. Right, Mike?
Yeah. I think the word you're looking for is cargo.
Cargo. I'm fine with that.
Aspired to be cargo.
I have aspirations of being space cargo. I am fine with that. Is that like an escargot? I have ambitions for being space cargo, as long as you figure out how to beam space cargo before you beam the people, right? That was the Enterprise, the beginning of Enterprise, that spinoff of Star Trek.
Yeah. Also, didn't you used to dance under the name Space Cargo?
Ah, very good. Very good, Mike. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, Californians might soon be paying $8 a gallon for gas. Guess who's not too far behind them? We'll give you the horrifying details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So Forbes, which is most definitely not my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy, has this headline: why California drivers could soon pay $8 a gallon for gas. $8 a gallon for gas, my friends. That is right. On the heels of a recent article outlining how California's unique fuel regulations, not corporate price gouging, are driving up gasoline prices in the state, new developments have added urgency to that conversation. On May 6, California Senate Minority Leader Brian W. Jones sent a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom sounding the alarm over what could become an energy and economic crisis in the state. Citing an analysis by University of Southern California professor Michael Miche, the letter warns that gas prices could spike by 75% by 2026, reaching as high as $8.43 per gallon if two major refineries are allowed to shut down as planned. This follows Professor Miche's earlier study, which referenced in a prior article. His research identified structural factors and policy-driven costs as the primary reasons California gasoline prices are consistently the highest in the nation. Not only oil company profiteering, they call it. These factors include high state taxes, a boutique fuel blend required only in California, and increasingly constrained refinery landscape. Stop. Process for a second here. These guys are coming from the left, and they want to blame the oil prices profiteering, but they can't. Because of why? Because it's all the taxes and this insane fuel blend nonsense. So I'm reading this and realize it's from the lefty perspective, but realize what it means. Two key in-state refineries are scheduled to close in the coming months. The Phillips 66 refinery in Los Angeles by the end of 2025 and the Valero refinery in Valencia by April 2026. Together, these facilities reduce approximately 20% of California's gasoline supply. Professor Miche's projections are stark. He estimates that gas prices could reach $6.43 per gallon after the first closure, climb to $8.43 by the end of 2026 after the second. These numbers assume stable crude oil prices, but if global oil markets turn volatile, as they often do, the ceiling could be even higher. Refining gasoline in California has become increasingly difficult. The state's stringent environmental rules, such as the low carbon fuel standard, coupled with recent legislation like SBX 1 and 2 and ABX 2 and 1, have layered on costly compliance burdens, added uncertainty around future bans on internal combustion vehicles, and a hostile investment environment. It's not hard to see why refinery operators are opting to exit the state. The problem isn't limited to fuel pricing. According to Senator Jones' letter, the closures would also eliminate around 1,300 direct jobs and nearly 3,000 more indirectly. They are good-paying union and trade jobs in communities that can ill afford the loss. Beyond economics, the closures also increase the state's reliance on imported fuel, most of which must be transported by ship, raising logistical risks and arguably national security concerns. The letter from Senator Jones reads as both a policy critique and a plea for realism. It challenges Governor Newsom to reconsider regulations that are squeezing fuel requirements, and they are trying to include tax incentives to maintain refining capacity or temporary relief from some of the more onerous rules that disproportionately affect California. It is important to understand that California's fuel market, he writes, are largely isolated. The state's environmental regulations and fuel specifications make it difficult to import gasoline from other states or countries. Stop. You think this is special to California? You think their fuel market is isolated? No, it's not. This is exactly the kind of stuff that is happening here in Washington. And when supply tightens in a market with limited flexibility, price surges, sometimes dramatically. Much of the public and political dialogue around gas prices in California is focused on oil company profits and alleged price gouging, but the data simply doesn't support the narrative. Multiple independent investigations, including those by the FTC and the California Energy Commission, have found no clear evidence that refiners are colluding or manipulating the market. The price premiums in California are mostly structural, driven by policy choices. Those choices may reflect environmental priorities, but they also carry economic consequences. Policymakers must grapple with this trade-off, especially as the state's energy mix continues to evolve. If California continues down a path that discourages in-state refining while failing to address the growing supply gap, residents should brace for more sticker shock at the pump. Gasoline prices of $8 or more per gallon are no longer hypothetical. They are within view if the state doesn't take action. To be clear, this is not an argument against clean energy. This is coming from the left. They're arguing about the prices because of the taxes. They say California can pursue its climate goals and still maintain a stable, affordable energy supply, but doing so will require pragmatic policies that ensure reliability and economic viability, not just ambition. As I wrote in my previous article, this isn't about corporate greed. It's about structural and regulatory decisions that have real-world consequences for working families, small businesses, and anyone who drives a car in California. The choice isn't between climate progress and affordable fuel. The choice is whether we make that transition responsibly or let the market punish those who can least afford it. So wait a second. Did Forbes, which is most definitely not on the right, just make the case against the insanity here in Washington? Because our insanity is based on California's insanity. And how much higher could our gas prices go? They're talking $8 a gallon in California. What do you think it's going to get to here? Mike, I've been driving the EV a while, so I haven't looked at the gas prices, but I assume that they're pretty high because I haven't gotten the credit card bill for my son who's driving my Charger right now. So the question is, how high have they gotten around you?
I'm still paying about $4 a gallon.
So you're outside Seattle. You're in SeaTac.
I'm
right?
in SeaTac, yeah.
You're in SeaTac, which means ours are probably closer to 5 with
Probably.
all taxes in Seattle?
Yep.
Great. Fantastic. Wonderful. This is awful because that's why prices are not dropping here, but they're dropping everywhere else because gas prices are coming down everywhere else and not here. Insane. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Our mobile billboard showing back up in our area to call out anti-Semitism and Hamasniks that will destroy UW. Absolutely. We're going to tell you where they're going to be when we come back. You'll listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, it's been a while since we had these mobile billboards showing up in our area, calling out the lunatics who hate America, who hate Israel, who hate democracy, who hate capitalism, and who apparently hate Jews. But it looks like another tour is going to be happening soon. Joining us now from Accuracy in Media, the one and only Adam Gullette. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Always a pleasure. So, University of Washington, I'm sure they're going to love when this thing shows up on their campus. Or do you guys have a new way of doing this which doesn't involve the billboards?
Well, we use a variety of tactics to alert people as to who the anti-American anti-Semites are in their community. Of course, we're going to be visiting the University of Washington again on commencement day with a mobile billboard focusing on the leading anti-Semites in their community. But also, we use these digital tactics that I'm so proud of. As you know, if you're a terrible anti-American anti-Semite, we buy your domain name like amaributler.com and set up a page explaining what you've done. But it's important to make sure people see that page. So we now use these ads targeting your social media contacts. We can do ads targeting your LinkedIn contacts, your Facebook friends, so that when you show up for Thanksgiving, your grandma has been delivered banner ads explaining what happened on campus last semester, and she looks at you and says, what the heck's going on?
I got to remember never to get on your bad side. I just got to do that. So you've got this new website about University of Washington specifically. Tell me about it.
Yes, at uwhatesjews.com. I'm surprised it wasn't taken by them already for claiming their beliefs. But at uwhatesjews.com, you could send a message that goes directly to the private email addresses of the trustees of the university, as well as some people in the criminal prosecution office in local law enforcement, to ensure that, unlike other communities, they don't drop the charges against the hateful, violent people who were arrested recently. It's very important to take action, fill up their inboxes, and let them know that we're not going to let them get off the hook at merely arresting these people. They should be expelled. They should be criminally prosecuted. The charges shouldn't be dropped. And with one click, you could literally send a message to about 10 of these people.
So looking at a higher level view of this whole thing, a lot of people are not like you and me and care so much about anti-Semitism. They care about the anti-American stuff, you know, America first and all that. And for me, they care more about the vandalism. Now, I'm fine with that. I'll take whatever allies we can get in this little fight. But it seems like a lot of people have no idea that they caused $1 million worth of damage to this engineering building that was paid for by Boeing and T-Mobile and all these other companies. Are you highlighting that at the same time? Because it seems like I get a lot of traction out of that with people, more so even than the anti-Semitism, not diminishing the anti-Semitism, but you fight the battles you know you can win with whatever ammo you have. You know what I mean?
Well, I completely agree with that. And the point that we always try to make is that it's not that they hate the Jews per se. They hate the West. These people aren't like, well, let's get rid of Israel and then the world is fine. They hate America. Just as much as they chant death to Israel, they chant death to America. They hate Western civilization. It's literally now a coalition of Marxists and Islamists. And I think we can all recall from recent history in America, Islamists aren't too keen on the red, white, and blue. It's not merely that they don't like the Jews, that they don't like Israel. They hate all of us, and they've now teamed up with the Marxists in their hatred of America. And it's amazing how short-sighted these anti-American Marxists are, because the same sort of coalition previously got rid of the Shah of Iran and threw him out. And as soon as the Islamists took over, they killed all of the Marxists, threw them off the roofs of buildings. But these useful idiots don't actually know history, so the Marxists are more than happy to team up with the Islamists. In
the last few minutes we have with Adam Gullette from Accuracy in Media. Adam, how are things on the other college campuses? We see that Columbia is finally arresting people. We see that UW is finally arresting people. But me, being here in University of Washington territory, I know that things are not actually better on campus. They're just worried about losing their federal funding. So what's it like on these other college campuses?
That's exactly right. We're definitely not at the beginning of the end, but I hope that we're at the end of the beginning. For example, we've been going after the Virginia Military Institute because they hired one of Columbia University's leading radicals as a professor at the Virginia Military Institute, a guy who signed a DEI proclamation saying oppression breeds resistance. They gave him a prestigious fellowship at VMI. We visited their campus repeatedly, and during a Board of Trustees meeting, sent tens of thousands of emails. They fired the president of the university, and I'm imagine the career prospects of that professor aren't very good. And you're kind of seeing that elsewhere as well. They're taking small steps. They don't want to dive into common sense policies like not tolerating pro-Hamas violent radicals, but they're kind of dipping their toe into the idea of actually having law and order on their campus. Haven't yet fully committed, though.
All right. Adam Gillette from Accuracy in Media. Tell everybody how they can check out all the websites and all the amazing stuff you guys do, social media, everything, because I got to say, you are still the gold standard, my friend, because when I saw that woman over at Columbia got arrested again, the humanitarian aid one, I thought back to that video where you went to Shake Shack or offered her Shake Shack for humanitarian aid. So tell everybody where they can see all your videos, everything.
We're going to need a GoFundMe for that woman's tummy so that we don't commit a war crime. What a nut she is. Our website is aim.org, AIM.org. We're active on every social media platform. We have action alerts for all of these hateful, racist, anti-American universities like uwhatesjews.com. But Accuracy in Media, you can find us on every social media platform.
Adam Gillette, such a pleasure as always. Keep up the great work, and thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues, including Real Deal Giveaway, your chance to win fantabulous prizes as Mike and I review the latest movies. You're listening to Well, there's a new movie out where Mike liked the first one. I was indifferent about the first one. And then Mike went to see the second one. Of course, we're talking about The Accountant 2 starring Ben Affleck. Mike, what'd you think?
I think this movie had the bad fortune of being released on the wrong weekend because this is a movie that's largely been forgotten about. It's still currently in the top 5 box office, number 4, behind a Minecraft movie, Sinners, and of course Thunderbolts. But this is a movie that just got swallowed up with the other things that were going on in the competition. So the Minecraft movie was still big. People were still throwing popcorn at each other and spilling sodas and all of that. And then you also have the debut of the box office phenomenon, The Sinners, and then also sneaking in. This is like a news story in and of itself. Number 2 at the box office on April 25th when The Accountant 2 came out. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, was number 2 at the box office, a re-release of a movie that is 20 years old.
Yeah.
So this movie unfortunately had positioning problems from the jump. I don't think anybody predicted how successful Star Wars was going to be. Certainly nobody predicted how successful Sinners was going to be. And I think it just got swallowed up in the competition. Like a movie in April, it sounds good on paper. You're going to have like an R-rated action thriller thing. The problem is you already got one of those.
Well, was it released on April 15th? Because that would have made more sense.
25th.
Ah, so close.
No,
so
they had advanced screenings for
I was
going to
say
day.
you go see The Accountant for tax day.
Yeah.
That makes good sense.
That was the whole thing. They did that. They did that as a marketing thing.
I got you.
See how well it worked.
Yeah,
Ari's like,
exactly.
they should have done this. I'm like, they did do that. But no, for the movie itself, it's fine. As you said, I liked the first one, and this second one, they got my emails because they took everything that I had in criticism of the first one and improved it. In the first one, John Bernthal, the Punisher, doesn't show up until like the third act of the movie. This movie, he's in it throughout, and it's a two-hander buddy movie. And that's the vibe, that's the engine that makes it go, is the dynamic between Ben Affleck and John Bernthal. And in that regard, it's fun. Like they have a really fun dynamic. Anyone who has had or has been a younger or older brother, there's a lot that will resonate there. And the action is solid, if not unremarkable. It's like we're getting into the kind of violence, like 90s style violence, where people just get shot and they fall down.
Okay.
You know, that kind of thing. But it's throughout. It doesn't necessarily skimp on the action, but if you're looking for something more like in the key of John Wick, this isn't necessarily for you. You're kind of there for the characters. So I like it overall. It's fun. It's lighter on its feet, and it leans into the concept with not being as heavy-handed as it was in that first one. That first one is basically like Ben Affleck has superpowers because he's autistic or something like that.
That's what I didn't like about it. I liked all the investigative stuff. I liked the action.
Yeah.
I didn't like that aspect of it.
Yeah, and this kind of, in some ways, dials that back a bit because it's not so much about the Ben Affleck character. You just accept him as what he is because you've seen him in that other movie. But I don't care for the quote-unquote autism as a superpower trope to begin with. I think they do it in too many movies. This kind of doubles down in a weird kind of way in that, like, at the end of that first one, there's like this institute for gifted youngsters, that kind of thing. It's just a straight-up X-Men school at this point. Now there's like an entire team of like computer nerds and stuff, and that's kind of fine. It's a lot of people tip-tapping on keyboards and doing computer stuff. It's shrug. It's fine. But like I said, anytime we're not with the two main leads, Ben Affleck and John Bernthal, I'm just like, I want to hang out with them. Can we get back to the movie now? But yeah, I mean, overall, it's fine. It's a light recommend for me. I don't think you need to go run out and see it. This would be a movie I would recommend, Ari Hoffman, you check out on an airplane. This is a totally appropriate airplane movie because the violence isn't too incredibly graphic. It's just more action, shoot 'em up type of thing. But you're there for like the quips and the dynamic between the two leads. That's kind of the engine that makes it go, I think.
Well, see, the funny thing about the first one is I think I watched the first one on a plane. And I enjoyed it fine, but like I said, the whole superpower autistic thing just didn't really work. And I liked all the investigative stuff, and I liked all the action. So maybe I'll give this a watch.
Yeah, I think this one would be more for you if you were lukewarm to not liking that first one. This delivers. It's a solid mid-tier action movie. It's kind of in that same key as that A Working Man, that kind of thing. It's totally fine. Also, though, we're not unburdened from Ben Affleck using his autism as a superpower. He learns line dancing in this, and it's kind of a fun sequence. But it's just like I don't think that's how it works. He's like the Taskmaster or something like that. He just like sees something and can immediately do it. I'm like I'm not RFK Jr. here, but I'm pretty sure that's not how autism works.
Yeah, is that like counting cards in Rain Man or something like that? Like
it's just that's kind of maybe I don't know how autism
Maybe
works.
somebody ask Robert Downey Jr. how you're supposed to play these parts. Maybe that helps out a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
there you go. There you go. But yeah, I mean, it's still kicking around at the box office, so it's still available. And again, it's a solid mid-tier action movie. Check it out.
And actually, if you want to check it out, today we are giving away 2 Run of Engagement passes to see The Accountant 2. That's right, my friends. You can see The Accountant 2 in theaters now. If you want to win these fantabulous prizes, all you have to do is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 wins 2 Run of Engagement passes to see The Accountant 2, which is in theaters right now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, the wins keep piling up for the Trump administration. The Democrats are left flailing in the wind. I'll give you all the reasons why when we come back. You'll listen to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Congratulations to Kathy in Renton. You are the proud winner of 2 run engagement passes to the Accountant 2. Your next chance to win is coming up at 5:45. But before we do that, while we were in the commercial break, I was looking at some pictures and videos of the release of Edon Alexander. Edon Alexander is the last American hostage who's alive, who's being held by Hamas, who was released today. Now, there's a close-up on the video. I recognize where this frame came from. And it's when his mom sees him for the first time, and he runs and he gives her a massive, massive hug, and he's wearing a short-sleeve T-shirt, and his bare arms are in view of the camera. Now, I don't know what they did to this kid, but the common narrative you hear from the left and from the Hamasniks is, oh, look how well treated he is. If your standard is he can walk on his own, yeah, you know what? The Jews after the Holocaust could do some of them. Some of them could do that too, and we saw what some of the released hostages look like. So apparently, and we're getting early reports on this, they thought he might be being released a couple months ago and that this was coming, so they started fattening him up and feeding him again, but he was kept chained up most of the time. But if you look at this picture of his arms, and I've shared it over on my social media, at the Hofffather on Twitter, it looks like somebody put out a lot of cigarettes on his arms. That's what it looks out to me. It's absolutely horrifying. God knows what pain and suffering this kid endured. He's barely older than my own son. God knows what he suffered in those tunnels for close to 600 days as a prisoner of Hamas. And you know who didn't check on him the entire time? The Red Cross. Not once. The Red Cross has an entire section of their website dedicated to excuses for why they didn't check on any of the Israelis. In fact, we've had the Red Cross on the show twice to question them about their excuses about why they didn't check on the hostages for close to 600 days. Not once. The Red Cross has failed again. They failed in World War II. Let's not forget the Red Cross was complicit in covering up the atrocities of the Nazis in the concentration camps, and here they failed again. Basically, what have they been reduced to? Glorified Uber drivers. They show up when there's a release and shuttle them across the border, and that's about it. And there's a new sequel to Lyle Culpepper. He's a comedian, a pro-Israel comedian. The last one he did was about being an Uber driver, picking up the hostage. Hey, you need the aux cord? There's some water back there if you want it. Well, he's got a sequel out, and this is from the hostages' perspective. So you're looking at him and a buddy in the front seats of the car. Give a listen.
Hey, so great meeting you.
So sorry we didn't visit you in captivity. Lyle gets a little claustrophobic in
Stop it.
You do.
He doesn't need to know that.
Before we get you home, we're just gonna go over your schedule real quick. Is that cool? Yeah, we're doing a quick stopover in Qatar, like really, really quickly, and like you just like shake some hands, see Donald Trump, kiss some baby.
What else we have?
We have the Lilo and Stitch premiere. You're gonna be on the red carpet. It's Hawaiian themed. You're gonna love it.
Wear a Hawaiian shirt if you have one.
Yeah.
Ooh, also, you're hosting Saturday Night Live next week.
Oh my God! Yes, I'm so excited for this trip right here. You're gonna do so well.
Have you done improv before?
We also booked you a dinner reservation with Cardi B. You guys are dating now, by the way.
If she offers you Ambien, don't take it, it's Adderall. Oh my God, I love this song. Also, you're playing in a celebrity pickleball tournament this afternoon.
Oh, that's right.
Against John Hamm.
Oh, I get the wicked backhand.
Wicked backhand.
So
okay,
good.
So it's all on the elbow and the wrist and the arm and the shoulder.
Oh my gosh, you must be starving. Lyle, you have very low blood sugar. You need to eat something.
Okay, all right.
Snickers. We have more nuts than the Red Cross.
So good. So good.
Exactly. Guys, this is the insanity. The Red Cross is useless. If you give them donations, cut them off. There are better organizations out there. They do absolutely nothing. Really, just cut them off. In fact, I think next time there's a disaster, something like that in the U.S., we're going to look for other organizations that help out victims, because I'm not sure your money's going where it should be going when you look at something like the Red Cross, where they didn't visit American hostages for close to 600 days. That's inexcusable. And they're literally making the exact same mistakes they made in the 1930s and 40s in Nazi Germany. Now, switching gears, it is amazing that Donald Trump got this hostage to come home. It's a combination of Israel and Donald Trump. Bibi Netanyahu has been pounding Hamas. It's amazing what happens when you stop giving them aid and utilities. It's amazing what happens when you stop supplying your enemies with supplies and aid, and then all of a sudden they become more amenable to agreements and discussions. Bibi Netanyahu says, yeah, sure, he's willing to restart ceasefire negotiations, peace negotiations, but he is not willing to stop the fighting. He paused it today to get the hostage back, but they're going to keep pounding Hamas because what does Hamas do every time there's a ceasefire? They use it to rearm and resupply and reposition and parade around on TV like they beat the Zionists. Not going to give them that this time. Not going to give them that time to do that this time. But in addition to what's going on in the Middle East, Donald Trump is flying there right now to meet with the heads of different Arab states. And before he left, he started announcing the other wins we've had this weekend.
We also, as you know, created a situation where the Houthis, for the first time ever, have ceased firing, and they've let it be known that they're not going to be firing at American ships anymore, not going to be firing at Americans anymore. This was a heavy barrage that lasted for approximately 50 days. And as you know, they've been in war essentially for forever. But over the last 10 years, they've been very difficult for other countries. Nobody was able to do what we did. But they stopped, and we take their word for it. Their surrogates and them directly said, we don't want to do this anymore. And so we were satisfied with that.
Amazing. When you have Israel and the U.S. beating the crap out of you, you don't want to fight anymore? There's a shocker. That's a real head scratcher. Why don't they want to fight anymore? Oh, you mean because they don't have an airport anymore to get supplies from? That would be my guess, because Israel flattened it after the Houthis launched a missile at Israel's airport. The wins are piling up. By the way, even CNN was positive of Donald Trump this morning. It was amazing to watch.
On Saturday, my administration helped broker a full and immediate ceasefire, I think a permanent one, between India and Pakistan, ending a dangerous conflict of two nations with lots of nuclear weapons. And they were going at it hot and heavy, and it was seemingly not going to stop. And I'm very proud to let you know that the leadership of India and Pakistan was unwavering, powerful, but unwavering in both cases. And having these, they really were, from the standpoint of having the strength and the wisdom and fortitude to fully know and to understand the gravity of the situation. And we helped a lot. And we helped also with trade. I said, come on. We're going to do a lot of trade with you guys. Let's stop it. Let's stop it. If you stop it, we're doing trade. If you don't stop it, we're not going to do any trade. People have never really used trade the way I used it. That I can tell you. And all of a sudden they said, I think we're going to stop. And they have. And they did it for a lot of reasons, but trade is a big one. We're going to do a lot of trade with Pakistan. We're going to do a lot of trade with India. We're negotiating with India right now. We're going to be soon negotiating with Pakistan. And we stopped the nuclear conflict. I think it could have been a bad nuclear war. Millions of people could have been killed. So I'm very proud of that. I also want to thank Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Rubio for their work and efforts. They worked very hard on that.
Free trade stops wars. Free trade stops wars. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to make sure that we have free trade, because it wasn't just about wars and stopping wars. It was about preemptively stopping wars. What do I mean by that? We were worried we were going to get into a full-scale conflict with China. Really worried about that between the trade war and the kind of Cold War we have going on with China right now. And then our costs are all going up because so many things are made in China. And then this bombshell announcement comes out late afternoon yesterday. We didn't know what the details were of this trade deal with China, but we knew it was going to be good for the economy. The stock market today went bonkers, crazy, in a good way, I mean that. It's probably on for more after this. And in fact, more trade deals are probably on the way because you got the one with China.
In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the larger structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs.
In fact, speaking of pharmaceuticals, Donald Trump was talking about the discussions that they were having with China regarding the fentanyl crisis, because China has been flooding our country with fentanyl. Like I said, you could argue we're in a drug war with China right now because they keep sending it over to our country. Scott Bessent was actually the one who was leading the negotiations with China. I was thrilled when I saw his name on the negotiations as opposed to Witkoff or anybody else, because I trust Scott Bessent and the market trusts Scott Bessent. And when they saw that he's the one behind this, they see that Donald Trump is no longer listening to people like Peter Navarro who are like, yeah, trade, tax, tariff, everybody, and we'll pay off the deficit, which just doesn't work. Instead, he's talking to people like Scott Bessent who go, use it as leverage to bring down the tariffs that other countries have on us. Here's what Scott Bessent said today.
This does not include any sector-specific tariffs that have been put across all of our trading partners. And as the ambassador said, I think he would agree with me that the upside surprise for me from this weekend was the level of Chinese engagement on the fentanyl crisis in the United States. They brought the Deputy Minister for Public Safety, who is not traditionally part of the trade team or the negotiating team, and he had a very robust and highly detailed discussion.
Yeah, and these are the kind of things we can solve when you have the right people doing the negotiating. And Donald Trump is very good at pivoting when something's not working right, and the trade war wasn't really working right. You pass over somebody like Peter Navarro, and you go to Scott Bessent, and all of a sudden you start getting results. Because Ambassador Greer was talking about, he was also part of this with Scott Bessent, was talking about the great things this deal is accomplishing.
And so today, with this agreement, we come to agreement that our reciprocal tariff rate will go down to 10% on the United States side, so it goes down 115%. We enter into a 90-day pause period for negotiations, which both the Chinese and the United States are very committed to. And the Chinese on their side also go down 115% to 10%, and they remove the countermeasures that they have in place. To be very clear, other measures that the United States has put in place in the past, whether it's tariff measures from 2018 or since, tariffs under other statutory authorities, tariffs related to fentanyl, those remain unchanged for now to the side. I'll just make one point, is that both the Chinese and the United States agreed to work constructively together on fentanyl, and there's a positive path forward there as well.
This is huge. This is absolutely huge, because you are literally saving lives by solving the fentanyl crisis. And China's a lot of the one who's actually flooding our markets with it. Of course, other countries are helping as well, and drug cartels are helping, but they see that we're serious. In fact, Scott Bessent said in a statement during the same press conference, he said that China admitted they took advantage of Joe Biden because they knew that they could. And that's literally what they've been doing. It's win, 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 win this week, and it's incredible. On top of that, speaking of pharmaceuticals, Donald Trump and RFK Jr. made a huge announcement regarding what's going to happen with health care and how he has now signed a new executive order that may bring down the cost of health care.
But starting today, the United States will no longer subsidize the health care of foreign countries, which is what we were doing. We're subsidizing others' health care. Countries where they paid a small fraction of what, for the same drug, that what we pay many, many times more for. And will no longer tolerate profiteering and price gouging from Big Pharma. But again, it was really the countries that forced Big Pharma to do things that, frankly, I'm not sure they really felt comfortable doing. But they've gotten away with it, these countries. European Union has been brutal. And the drug companies actually told me stories. It was just brutal how they forced them. And European Union suing all our companies, Apple, Google, Meta. They're suing all of our companies. They end up, they have judges that are European Union-centric, and they get rewarded 15 billion, 17 billion, 20 billion, and they use that to run their operation. Not going to happen any longer, that I can tell you.
Well, actually, if we're talking about all that, we should really be talking about tort reform on top of all this. I think that could actually save a ton of health care costs.
There you go. Ari, this is terrific news. I don't know if you saw my post on Twitter. You can follow me at Mike on KVI. But I, in response to this press release from the White House, terrific. Now replace prescription drugs with collectible action figures. and then that'll get Trump back on my side.
Because the problem is what Mike's talking about is, yes, we have this trade deal in theory with China. It's going to take 90 days, they think, to negotiate, or they'll do another extension after that. But companies like Mattel have already raised their prices. So as much as there's good news, there is after effects of this kind of stuff. Now, are companies like Mattel using this as an excuse to keep their prices high? Was it they didn't want to do it during inflation? I haven't really seen Mattel be so politically aligned. I haven't seen a lot of that. They haven't crossed my radar yet, but Bud Light learned their lesson because Anheuser-Busch moved their production back to the U.S., as did many other countries during all this. This is all great, great news. There's one little teensy tiny problem. In fact, it's about a $400 million problem, and it's a giant airplane. Now, here's the issue. You have Air Force One is old. It's like 40 years old. In fact, there's two of them, and they're both 40 years old, and they're not doing great. So Donald Trump, when he was president the first time, said, I want 2 new Air Force Ones. We're going to order them. Well, they still haven't built them yet. So what happens? Donald Trump is getting a little antsy, and he wants his new ride. Well, the problem with his new ride is he said, all right, Boeing, you're not doing the job. I'm going to start shopping. And what they did was they found a used airplane that was for sale by the government of Qatar. Now, this reporting goes back to February, but yesterday this bombshell dropped that Qatar is just going to give this as a present to the U.S. government. Yeah, I don't want the U.S. government taking presents from Qatar. Qatar are terrorists in suits. They're the ones who tell Hamas, hold the hostages, release the hostages. They're the ones who fund Hamas and other terrorist organizations. And now we're going to owe them a favor because they gave us a giant airplane. We don't need the airplane that badly. A lot of people are saying it's a Trojan horse, but you forget the aspect of it. Let's say it was swept for bugs, taken apart. They found nothing on it. Do you want to owe Qatar any favors at all? Do you want the president owing Qatar any favors?
How about no?
Exactly right, which is why there are people I can't stand on social media. Cannot stand them. Right, left, all over the place. I'm not going to name names. But when I'm agreeing with them and they're agreeing with each other, you got problems. That's the biggest problem. There is somebody who I saw at the RNC, and Zach goes, hey, you want that person on the show? And you know what I said, Mike?
How about no?
In fact, I actually said that in that voice, just like that. That is exactly how I said it at the time. And then I see this person who goes, I love President Trump, but this is crazy. This is out of control. And I'm like, exactly right.
You had so many choices, too. It's like you could have been like, I'm imagining you guys are at the RNC, and Zach's like, hey, you want to go talk about this guy? And Ari's all like, no. And then Zach's all like,
what do you mean, no?
Right. That was a lot of it. He goes, what do you mean you don't want to talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene? I'm like, because it won't end well for her. It'll be a viral moment, and I'll get yelled at. Right? That's basically it, because here would be my conversation with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Shall we just role play this out for a second, okay?
Let me power up the space laser over here.
All right, you got it right? All right, here we go. Ready to go, Mike? Stand by with the space laser, okay? So, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, what brings you to the RNC? Well, you know, Trump's fantastic. Ah, good. So are you still a radical anti-Semite who believes that the Jews have a space laser up in the sky? And how would that really work out? Not so well. Plus, I wouldn't have my handy-dandy little sound effects to use at the time, right? There we go. She would fry me with her eyeballs is what would happen right there. The hatred. It would be seething. Her eyes would be glowing with the hate of the Hoffman. It would be bad, bad news. So some of these interviews I didn't do because I knew that I would be the problem, even though the person who said the Jews have the space laser would probably be the problem. But we avoided these things. But when I'm agreeing...
Yes, so noted.
Exactly. But when I'm agreeing with a lot of these people and they're agreeing with people on the left and everybody goes, this is a bad idea, you don't need the Trump that badly. You know what I would rather see in the Donald Trump Presidential Library, Hotel, and Casino? You know what I would rather see there is Trump Force One. the thing he's actually been flying around on for years, the thing he practically lives in, I would rather see that. And then, you know what? He can get his retirement palace in the sky, and then the Trump kids can use it afterwards. Win-win for everybody, and then there's no national secrets on board. This is great. We don't have to worry about the Trojan airplane. Don't have to worry about that at all. This is good news. And hopefully, there's so much good news, hopefully, President Trump understands that the Air Force One should not be his priority. I mean, I get that we need new Air Force Ones. I get it. Believe me, I get the Boeing's behind, but we don't need one so badly that we end up owing Qatar a favor. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me. Give me a call at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, the Hamasniks out at the University of Washington have started a fundraiser. Why? Because they didn't count on actually getting arrested for causing over $1 million worth of damage to the campus. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast, right now on The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Remember that coming up at 5:45 is your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including, what are we giving away today? I should look at my sheet before I do little teases. We are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and so much more.
Roy Rodeo, dude.
Roy Rodeo. Which
Dude, I cannot wait for us to talk about the Roy Rodeo. I think we need to have Zach on sometime this week. Zach, producer of The Morning Ride, my counterpart in the morning there. But, like, he is, like, disproportionately stoked for this event. It's a homecoming of sorts, being a Stillicum kid.
You know what?
That.
We have to have him on because
Yes.
I know nothing about this.
Me neither.
And rather than showing my ignorance, because after all, my audience knows that I know absolutely everything. I know the answer to every question. There was one time I thought I was wrong, but I was wrong. That is the only time I was wrong. So we have to have young Zach on to explain to us exactly how awesome the Roy Rodeo is.
But regardless, we're very excited about it. Like this was like when we were planning events for the year, we were all just kind of like, yeah, let's get on that. Because apparently, like, we had something with them last year, had really good results. It's like, oh, well, let's do the full court press this time around.
Awesome.
So we're giving away tickets all week. We're all going. Oh, by the way, you're going, by the way.
I like that I get voluntold
Yes.
about the things that I'm going to. Excellent.
Yes. Read your emails.
Fans, I will read my emails. Yes, it's been a bit of a day around here.
It certainly has. This has been the most Monday
ever.
Ever.
I think since the hack. This has been the
Sure,
most Monday
sure.
ever. But yeah, Monday ever. But anywho, yeah, that's all coming up at 5:45. Your chance to win fantabulous prizes. You know who's looking to get some cash quick? And no, I don't mean KVI audience when we do our cash giveaways or anything like that. The Hamas terrorists at University of Washington. That's right. I don't think they counted on anybody actually arresting them after causing over $1 million worth of damage to the engineering building out there. So now they have a fundraiser, a GoFundMe fundraiser. That's right. Super UW supports students and community members. Now, my favorite is if you read their nonsense, they were not expecting to be arrested at all. And clearly, they haven't raised a lot of money. I think they only have like $2,000. But now, we've been discussing this for a month now. Anytime somebody does something wrong, they play the victim and put up a GoFundMe, and there's dummies willing to give them money. In fact, if you want, go take a look at the list of dummy heads who are not anonymous. There are a bunch of anonymous people, but there's some people who put their names on there, and you can find out who's giving these morons money. So on Monday, May 5th, the Students United for Palestine Equality and Return occupied our university's new Boeing-funded interdisciplinary engineering building, renaming it in honor of a terrorist. Oh, wait, they didn't say that. They said Shaban al-Dalu, whatever. I don't care who this person is. Probably just another terrorist. Yes, exactly right. So instead of engaging with students and community members, our administration called in UW-PD, SPD, and state troopers dressed in riot gear to violently assault and arrest protesters. You mean after you destroyed the building, hauled the furniture outside, lit things on fire, and then talked about committing genocide against Jews on campus? Right. Just making sure that we're discussing the exact same thing here. We are asking for community support and paying legal and medical fees. Oh, sorry, FAFO, as they say, as well as for living expenses for those evicted, fired, or banned from their workplaces. You mean for causing over $1 million worth of damage? Maybe, just maybe, you might need the money to pay off the $1 million worth of damage you caused. Oh, I'm sorry, do we still have to say allegedly? I think we still
don't even know anymore, but it's always safe. Better be safer
allegedly
than
caused.
safer than sorry.
The machines broke themselves. They're brand new. We don't know how they work. They allegedly broke themselves. By the way, I did do a fun public disclosure request, Mike. I didn't tell you about this yet. I filed a public disclosure request for the internal video camera footage of the building, which they have. So we'll get to see who allegedly broke those machines, or if, like that RV on I-90, they spontaneously combusted. Yes, exactly.
It turns out it's just Jamal Bowman pulling down a fire alarm. It's like, oh no, they got the footage all mixed up. What happened? What happened? Also, if they need humanitarian need, our good buddy Adam Gillette can offer them Shake Shack.
Yes, he can send over the Shake Shack for them. That is still, you know what, Mike? I need to repost that video of him walking up to the protester at Columbia. It's the woman who held a press conference talking about how the university had shut down the cafeterias because of their crazy insanity, and kids couldn't get anywhere on campus, and they switched to Zoom school.
Yeah, it was a blockade. They wouldn't let anybody in.
They wouldn't let anybody in. So why have the cafeterias open when you can't get the staff in there or anybody to cook the food? But then they go, we're just asking for basic humanitarian aid. Meanwhile, there's people, Uber Eats drivers, delivering things to the gates. So our friend Adam Gillette from Accuracy in Media, he walks over, he finds the specific protester. She happened to be outside that day. He walks over, he goes, do you need any humanitarian aid? because there's a Shake Shack right there. I'm going. Do you want anything? It was awesome. I have to reshare that video because we had him on the show today. But here's something that wasn't awesome. These lunatics who allegedly didn't cause these problems and were protesting peacefully, they're bragging online about how over the weekend they went and shattered more windows of the same building. First of all, University of Washington, is it so hard to have some security guards out there at the place that's been a target? But they shattered more windows. And according to some students, some of the classes in other parts of the building were set to resume this week. They thought they wouldn't be able to use the building till the end of the year. Now, mind you, a whole bunch of the labs that were caused over $1 million worth of damage, they're out of commission for the rest of the year. But some other parts of the building were going to be used. Not anymore, because now they see that the building is such a target, they're keeping it closed right now. This is insane. This is what happens when you surrender your campus to the mob. And no matter how many statements you give that are now saying the right thing, it's been 18 months where you guys let these people have the run of the campus. And they're going to keep doing this. They're going to keep doing it. They will not stop until they are behind bars. And by the way, UW, when are you sending the charging paperwork out to the King County prosecutors? Because the way this works is the responding agency is the one that sends out the paperwork. So if it was Seattle Police Department, they do it. But if it was Washington State Patrol, they do it. But who was the first agency on site? University of Washington Police. Why haven't they sent the charging documents out to the King County prosecutors yet? Because the last time I checked, they don't have them yet. And between all the stuff we've discovered in the meantime about terrorism and everything else, they're just waiting on it. They're more than happy to prosecute all this. King County prosecutors actually does a decent job these days. Can you just send them the paperwork, or is there another reason you haven't yet? Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Shenanigans in South Seattle. Tell you about what I saw over the weekend that actually was funny and horrifying, all at the exact same time, involving a shark on Rainier Avenue. You can't make this up. This actually happened. We'll tell you what it was when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. If you want the show that never ends, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on social media. That's Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram. The Hofffather over on Twitter. So just like Mike, you can make fun of me when I have various things over the weekend that just seem like my unending, uncensored, unfiltered stream of consciousness. Over the weekend, so for Mother's Day, they say that opposites attract, and I love my wife very, very much. But my wife wants to go out for food at the new kosher vegetarian place that has opened. Yes, that's all Seattle needed. Another kosher vegetarian restaurant. Literally, we have our friends from the Northwest Auto Show messaging me right now, asking me where to get kosher deli. Literally, it's happening over on the text line. And I have to tell them, there is no good kosher deli here because there's no kosher deli here. We got to get it shipped in. It's awful. I mean, it's good when we get it shipped in. I'm not saying that. But it's awful that we don't have a place here. It's really upsetting. You want to go to New York, you want to go to L.A., I will hook you up. I told young Zach and his family where to eat. They were very, very happy. Okay, you go to New York, L.A., Texas, all these places. I got places for you. Chicago, not here. So,
But also, though, actually, you're probably going to set this up. I was going to say, but how did you get there, Ari?
I'm getting there.
All right, very good. That is a strong component of the story.
I got you. So, vegetarian, kosher vegetarian, going for Mother's Day. Me and my wife grab the kids. We got two of them at home. One of them's in Israel. Grab the kids, tell them, all right, let's take the EV. And then I realize, wait a minute, hang on. So I'm driving an EV to a vegetarian restaurant. What has become of me? What has happened to my life? Now, mind you, I happen to be enjoying the EV that my friends over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram hooked me up with, the Jeep Wagoneer, which is awesome, by the way, and with gas prices approaching $8 a gallon in California, yeah, you might want to do something about that here. I haven't given up the Charger. Don't worry, still love my Charger. My son doesn't know how good he has it. He's driving to school in the Charger every day. My car, I was lucky if it started in the morning. He's driving my Batmobile to school. Anyway, we're driving along Rainier Avenue. Rainier Avenue is not typically a place where you see sharks. But what we saw on Rainier Avenue was somebody had set up one of these stands for Mother's Day. The oh crap stands, as I call them, where I didn't get anything for Mother's Day, so quick, grab the cruddy flowers or cherries or whatever it is, bears, whatever they have out there, probably stolen off a truck. I don't ask, but it's out there. And we noticed as we're at a red light, oh, go ahead.
As a brief aside, because I'll have no other opportunity to tell this story. So I'm driving to Auburn also on Saturday for the Battlefield Recovery 5K, which we're going to talk about briefly in Good News. And I'm seeing these stands on every block, and I'm driving. I'm like, the hell people got flowers for? What's that about? Oh no! That literally happened. I mean, my mom lives very far away. She's in Sitka, Alaska, so I don't like buy her flowers or whatever. She gets text messages for giving me life. But no, so I had no idea. I'm just like, wow, that's all the like the heart balloons and all this stuff. Very festive. Is it like May Day or something? Protest season was a couple weeks ago. What's going on? I literally had no idea until it just light bulbed.
So it snuck up on me this year too, but I was prepared. I had it prepared. So what happens? Driving along, we stop at the red light across from the place which is selling the cruddy Mother's Day stuff on Rainier Avenue in South Seattle. And what happens? There is some kid or somebody dressed in one of those inflatable shark costumes dancing. Like, come buy our wares, like the shark on the left or the right from the Katy Perry video. I forget which one it was. So the shark's dancing. And there's a U-Haul nearby, and I don't know what's going on with the U-Haul, but all of a sudden, the shark turns and heads towards the U-Haul. And somebody at the U-Haul is beckoning the shark, like, come here, come here, come here. And then what happens? The shark walks towards the U-Haul. And I'm like, me and my wife are we about, what is, don't get in the U-Haul,
my
shark.
wife.
Right, don't do it, shark. Don't get in the U-Haul. And then you know how you can't really walk in those things? It kind of gets its way up into the U-Haul. And we go, it's getting in the U-Haul. And then the person who's beckoning the shark pulls down the back door on the U-Haul. Did we just witness the kidnapping? Is that, we didn't know whether to laugh or call 911. That's just a normal day in Seattle, though, I guess. But speaking of calling the authorities, over the weekend, you got the French Prime Minister Macron apparently had cocaine, didn't have cocaine. Now, we have. Zapruder filmed this footage, if you haven't seen it on social media, looking for the cocaine. because if there's one thing the Ari Hoffman Show is known for, it's cocaine. Wait, no, that's not right. It is.
That's very true, though.
We do love making fun of the
There
cocaine.
was a time where we made cocaine-fueled wildlife mayhem our entire personality.
Yeah, well, it was all in the news because of the cocaine bear. So anytime there's a cocaine story, we like to cover the cocaine story. So what happens, there's this video going viral, and they go, look, we caught him and his friends with cocaine. And I zoom in, and I go, that looks like a napkin. And then they go, that's a line of cocaine next to him. I go, that looks like somebody crumpled up like one of those straws you get on an airplane for your drink that you never use. And you're like, well, what the hell do I do with this thing now? That's what it looked like to me. Now, if you've seen these videos and you think it's something different, you text us at 206-421-5757. I went looking for the cocaine, didn't find it. I looked hard, Mike. Did you look as hard as well?
I don't need to look as hard to find cocaine. Sorry, buddy.
Just come to South Seattle for all you know. They're selling it at one of those things for mom.
There
exactly
you go.
Right.
But no, I have acquired secret footage from inside the office of Emmanuel Macron here. We'll just give there's no video, it's just audio. We'll see what happened on my spy cam here.
Okay, so how do I do it? You eat it. How much? Like a tablespoon's worth.
I don't know, man.
I mean, I would think they would know what they're doing by now. They seem like pros at disposing of the stuff on the table, grabbing it, getting rid of it, all sly-like. Yeah. The French would be speaking German if not for us. Only have one gear on their vehicles. That's reverse. The French. Yeah, anyway. Thank you. Old World War II era jokes. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway. Your good news headlines. Your chance to win a $50 gift card. Plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, we got a good news story for you. So this weekend was Battlefield Addiction's Walk and Run for Recovery 5K out in Auburn. KVI was there, Northwest News Radio was there, our friends over at Hank FM were there. It was great. And I wish I could have been there. This event, when I saw Jonathan Cho's video from this event, I had real FOMO because I wanted to be there. First of all, it's my friends we're raising money for. And there's companies we raise money for, and they do a good thing. But Art from Battlefield Addiction, he is intense, he is fun, he is great. Andrea Suarez from We Heart Seattle, she's wonderful. She's on the show all the time. Friend of the show, as we say. She's
Very
on here
much
all the
so.
time. So Jonathan Cho, only media outlet to show
You
up?
beat me to it. I was going to say I want to give a special shout out to our friend Jonathan Cho. He's literally the only media out there, and that includes us because we were there in like a promotional fashion. Sure. Like I handed out flags to people and like shook hands and kissed babies and whatnot. I wasn't there as like a member of the media. I was there as Big Mike, media personality, which is different.
Excuse me. You were there. You have to use your correct title. Your given name. Leader of the Big Mike Militia.
Oh, yes. Yes. Overlord of the Big Mike Militia.
Yes.
We are well regulated. But yeah, so like our end was a bit different, but like Cho was really in there. And it was, I haven't been with Cho a lot when he like really gets in the trenches. Like that dude is intense. Oh, yeah. The way he attacks his style of journalism. He's got like drone shots, cell phone footage, and like he ran the 5K with everybody. So like it was just really cool to see like boots on the ground journalism. So anyway, I just wanted to shout out Jonathan Cho. We have this footage because of his reporting, not because of anything we did. But yeah, no, it was an incredible event. It was moving and it was inspiring, and it was a terrific day Saturday morning. Down there in Auburn at Rogner Park there, but yeah, man, you get Andrea, our friend Andrea, on the mic, and you get Art, who is an intense dude.
Mm-hmm.
And
I told you so, right?
Yeah,
you had never met him before, right?
I had not, and
Yeah.
he's just like gave me like one of those handshakes where I'm like, okay, give me my arm back. Yeah, I'm getting the motion sickness because he just like attacks everything with that. With that righteous intensity. But yeah, so basically, Ari, the clip I got for you here this is an excerpt from a video that Jonathan Cho posted. There's a longer form. I've reposted it on both the KVI account as well as my Mike on KVI page. But the longer version has like stories of families who have been touched by addiction. But basically, like the theme of all this is the days of harm reduction are over.
Yeah.
Let's start talking treatment. That's the thrust of what we're going to play here.
You do fentanyl, it kills you. And in our opinion, we're saying we need community intervention. We need to get people off these drugs. And every family member that's lost a loved one and is here today, every one of you would give anything to be able to try to intervene today.
Lives are lost an airplane a day out of the sky to death of overdose. There is no harm reduction for fentanyl. This isn't working. I don't need another data point or study or committee or survey. We have to stop the distribution of crack pipes and fentanyl on our taxpayer dollar.
Going forward, if my son, who's over there, is ever doing bad behavior that will kill him, like smoking fentanyl, please tackle him. Please take the foil and knock it out of his hand. Don't worry about stigmatizing him. We've gotten to a place where people are more worried about feelings than saving someone's life. They're more worried about hurting someone's feelings. See, about if we ain't worried about your feelings. We're worried that you are alive to continue to feel. You'll figure that feeling out later.
And once again, thank you to Jonathan Cho for getting us those interviews. Thank you to Art, everybody at Battlefield Addiction. Thank you to Andrea, everybody at We Heart Seattle. Thank you, everybody from KVI, Northwest News Radio, Hank FM.
Mark your calendars for next year because the 7th annual Battlefield run for whatever they call it. It's two main names. But it's going to be Mother's Day weekend again. next year. And before we give away our fantabulous prizes, I want to thank my Uncle Chris for sitting in and watching the show with us. My dude is celebrating a landmark birthday tomorrow. So we're going to go see Mission Impossible tonight.
Yeah,
so,
we are. Also,
love you, buddy.
I like when your uncle's here, too, because then I know somebody's laughing at my jokes. You're kind of jaded at this point. But when I see him laughing, I go, oh, I'm actually funny today. This is great. Not just me telling dad jokes. So you can come anytime, sir. Anytime you want. Before I forget, here's what we're giving away today. $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, 7 steps to a successful retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial, and 2 tickets to the Roy Rodeo. Visit the Roy Rodeo Facebook page for more details, danielsbroiler.com, and of course, madronafinancial.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes, be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Oh, that's going to do it for us today, my friends, but fear not, we'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.